Greetings, my friends. In the recent MetaWatch article, they said Blood Angels have a 41% win rate. Well, I'm finding I can do a lot better than that. In today's video, we're going to be looking at a players list that has won multiple tournaments with Blood Angels using no real melee units or threat. So let's dive straight into this and let's check out some of the events that he's won and just exactly how his list plays. So welcome, and this is a competitive list by TJ, and it's a Gladius Task Force list that was first place at multiple events but had no real meaningful melee. You can check these events out on BCP, and I also have a list of some of the armies that he's beaten. This was available, this is the Realm 40k RTT in the Comet Quest August event. So let's check out the list at 1995 points. We start with the Primaris Apothecary, who has Bolter Discipline. That's obviously giving sustained hits 1. For like a squad of Desolation Marines. He's actually taking the Desolation Marines even after their 100-point increase, and also going to give critical hits on 5s while they're in Devastator Doctrine, which basically you can burst those extra hits on 5s. Very good with a unit with a ton of firepower like Desolation Marines. For Battle Line, we have the one squad of Intercessors that gives us the ability to do some sticky objectives. For like the front wave of fire support, we have 3 Bile Predators, all flamered out, I guess, with 100 killer missile on a Stormbolter on every one. For 125 points, these are toughness 10 with 11 wounds, so difficult to take down and very effective at killing infantry. We also have a Devastator Squad, which has obviously those grav cannons for the anti-vehicle 2+. We have 2 Gladiator Lancers, again, brilliant anti-vehicle, and have some decent other firepower. You know, rocket pods, heavy stubbers, and some Stormbolters to kill some chaff. We have a unit of Infiltrators, both with the Helix Gauntlet and the Comms Array, giving us some deep strike denial potential. We have a Librarian Dreadnought, who's going to be able to teleport our units around and also provide like the bubble of Feel No Pain against mortal wounds. And Psychic. We have 2 squads of scouts. One is snipers and one is regular scouts. If you want to use these scouts, I guess you've got to use them soon because these are probably going away with the Space Marine Codex. They'll be putting into Legends. We have the Storm Speeder Thunderstrike, and I've been banging on about how good the Thunderstrike even though it's 160 points. +1 to wound on anything it hits. It's got Ballistic Skill 2 up. It's got 3 missiles. All 3 missiles have like between 36 and 48 inches. So you're almost guaranteed to be able to hit a monster or vehicle and then make them +1 to wound. This is very good if you combo it with like Gladiator Lancers, Desolation Marines, or those Bile Predators, especially when you factor in Oath of Moment. And then we've got the Calidus Assassin in there as well to do some shenanigans. So this is 1995 points, and as mentioned, there is no real melee in this list. It's a very, very shooting list. I mean, there's a Power Fist on the Intercessor squad, and I think that might be the only dedicated close combat weapon, I suppose, if you exclude the Calidus Assassin. Anyway, let's move on, and you can see here that he had 3 and 0 at this RTT, and then in this other event, he was basically top, and I find it kind of hard sometimes to dig into these because I don't always pay for BCP. I don't use BCP that much. But check these events out if you want, and you can see his list, and you can probably see some of the battles that he came up against. So as requested, here's the list, and it's beaten Knights, Chaos Knights, Orcs, Space Marines, GSC, Adeptus Mechanicus, Imperial Guard, and Chaos Demons. And once we go over what he has to say, I'll give you my thoughts as well. The only army he hasn't fought yet is Eldari. But I mean, Eldari are so far out there at the moment with the balanced data slate around the corner, I expect that they will be brought down in line a bit. So even if you'd played Eldari, it's probably irrelevant. So he's going to try and share the logic of how the army plays. So the regular scout squad and the Calidus exist to do the exact same thing. They redeploy every turn for secondaries, and that's one of the cool things that those units can do. He also said, and Vex. I'm not sure what Vex means. Someone in comments can tell me what Vex means. He's got 3 Bile Predators, which he thinks are incredibly undercosted at 125 points. They're great Overwatch, they're excellent move blocking, they're cheap toughness 10, they're bullet sinks. The opponent's fears of being Overwatched is inadvertently preventing them from secondary scoring, which would require them to get into a corner, which was in range of Overwatch. Okay, so I mean, I like the Bile Predators, I think, more with heavy bolters over the Flamers, but I do like the Flamestorm cannon in the top. I think it's really, really good. The Bile Flamer are now wounding monsters and vehicles potentially on 5s because of Thunderstrikes +1 to wound. I think he means you're wounding toughness 12 on 5s. I think the main strength 6 cannon would actually wound toughness up to toughness 11 on 4s. So if you actually like Oath of Moment at a target, then the flamers on the Bile Predators, the main flame cannons, could actually do some decent damage to armor, and they are 2 damage each and they are -2. The Lancers also get a bonus, which is +1 to wound, which helps with their built-in rerolls. So it really forces his opponent to focus on his cheap toughness 10. That would be the Lancers and the Bile Predators, because if they're ignored, they can do a lot of damage. But then he said, Librarian Dreadnought, he actually makes the entire thing work. He teleports. His teleport is the counter to GSC and Demons. In Alpha Strike, we kind of dream of. Units simply cannot hide from a teleporting Desolation Squad, or even a Devastator Squad with Oath of Moment. The Desolation Squad would get exploding 5s and 6s, re-rolling, and with the Castellan, either -1 AP ignoring cover, Super Cracks -3 ignoring cover, and the Vengar -2 ignoring cover, assuming that you've got 1 CP to put them in Storm of Fire and Devastator Doctrine. So you can get, we already know Desolation Marines can do a ton of damage, and I always thought using Librarian Dreadnought to wing them around the board and basically open up firing lanes for those Super Cracks could actually be really useful, and it seems like they would be. Every game, I ask my opponent what their most expensive model is on the table, and I've yet not to pick up at minimum that model turn 1. So basically what he means is he finds out what's the biggest model, the nastiest monster the enemy has, and he just teleports the Desolation Marines and Devastator Doctor at turn 1, pays the 1 CP for Storm of Fire, Oath of Moments that it just instantly kills the enemy. And I think that would happen most of the time. In fact, you might even be able to shoot 2 targets, honestly. Especially with 2 Gladiator Lancers, you know, you shoot with the Lancers first, see what they do, see how much of the firepower from those Desolation Marines you need to dedicate to finish off the target. So he's always going to teleport the Desolation Marines in turn 1 and 2, and then he's going to teleport the Devastators in one of the other turns, and he's going to teleport the Intercessors. Each game, he ends on like 2 objectives with the Sticky, the Home one, and sometimes some others. So he's using the Librarian Dreadnought to teleport the Intercessors onto objectives to make them sticky, and then he's leaving them afterwards. Quite clever, actually. I don't think we've seen people talk about Librarian Dreadnought, but I don't think we've seen quite this level of shenanigans with him. But this is a very cool list. This has got a few Blood Angels things in it, and I don't think it's a problem that it has no melee. I have been running some melee in my Blood Angels list, but having seen this, and if I have to play this again in my Blood Angels list, I would be a little bit scared of this. This seems like a very, very strong list. He said, I end up rarely in any meaningful melee, and I rarely end up in any meaningful melee. The Bile Predators Overwatch, the general offense, the move blocking, the 1.1 inch outside of the opponent's melee, and provide a bullet sink. An opponent that cannot teleport is yet to make it to my deployment zone because the shooting is just too powerful, be that a Zerg army or an elite army. Additionally, a fun moment I previously had lost in the championships with a Black Templar list versus a really good GSC player. After the loss, I built this list thinking about how I can counter the Demons, can't shoot outside 18 inches, and the GSC can't shoot 2 units outside of 12 inches. They usually start with most of the units in reserve, so turn 1 there's plenty of teleport space. As such, I think top of turn 1, I teleport my Desolation Marines in the middle of the board within 12 inches of 2 lone operatives and their main squad. The one they hide... I'm really struggling tonight, guys, I'm sorry. The one they hide blips behind, and with the character which gives them the free strats. I easily picked up all of the above. Now he has almost nothing on the board turn 1. He hides the blip for his unit in the far back corner of the deployment zone, and then turn 2 the Calidus lands right on top of the blip. We then go on to destroy GSC. They didn't score primary until turn 4, at which point we ran out of time. So he built this list specifically to fight GSC, trying to use the teleports that the Librarian brings, along with the move blocking and the tons of toughness 10, you know, bullet sponges as he calls them. And this is actually really interesting. I think having a bunch of toughness 10 armor in your list helps loads. I've been running like 6 armor units. This list obviously has the 5 tanks, so all toughness 10, all 10 plus wounds, and then Librarian Dreadnought. So 5 tanks, 1 Dreadnought, and then a bunch of infantry. And I think that's probably about right. My list at the moment is like 6 tanks, 2 Dreadnoughts, and then a small amount of infantry. But Yeah, the infantry is picked. Like, the scouts with the redeploy are very cool. The scouts that can't be shot are very cool. It's very sad those are going away. I'd thought about including intercessors for the sticky. He's obviously using it really well. So this is a Blood Angels list that, I mean, he's basically been to 2 tournaments at and nobody can beat. So what are my thoughts on this list? I think 3 Ball Predators seems like a ton of fun. I think I prefer them with the heavy bolters, but the Flamer does give them maximum Overwatch potential. The Flamestorm Cannon, D6+3, and being able to shoot after advance now is really cool. Teleporting 10-man Desolation Marines with Bolter Discipline is insanely good when comboed up with Oath of Moment. I guess my fear in doing that is you're teleporting a 420-point model up the board, or 420-point blob of guys. But yeah, I mean, they should kill pretty much anything they can see. You know, it's basically like 9 cracked missiles, and you're going to full re-rolls on that. And then it's going to be like, and remember, 5s and 6s are both bursting. So yeah, it should average, like, probably with full rerolls and that, you should probably average like 13 crack missile hits, and then like maybe like 30 Castellan launcher hits. Like, there's so much damage coming out of those. They were insanely powerful at 240 points. I haven't tried them again at 340, but it seems like this list has got them working. The Gladiator Lancers do Lancer things. They're very point efficient. I think everybody can agree with that. The Stormspeeder Thunderstrike is very costly, I've said that as well. But the +1 to wound is very powerful when it buffs the whole army. Remember, that's only against more monsters and vehicles, but still, most people are bringing monsters and vehicles, so it's something you can definitely think about including. I would have thought about bringing some Incursors here, because they would give all your shooting +1 to hit, but I mean, maybe that's not as important as I seem to think it is. He does have 3 Predators that are all just going to be Flamers. And it's a little sad to see no melee at all. I think that's why I've got like the Death Company and the Death Company Dreadnought in my list. Like, I'm a little bit hesitant to throw all my melee away as Blood Angels, but this is a very difficult addition to be playing a melee army. So if you are winning every game using Blood Angels units like Ball Predators and Librarian Dreadnoughts, who cares, I suppose, if you're not using any melee? As long as you're happy, enjoy the game, and your opponent, and you're playing fair, then I think that's fine. It's interesting. It's totally something different. So I've tried to break down each point of his list and just try and say what's good or what's bad about it. So for objective holding, he's got those intercessors to sticky, he's got the infiltrators to screen, he's got 3 Ball Predators for forward pressure, and I think there's a good mix of infantry and armour, and there's a couple of squads of scouts there, so like holding objectives should be absolutely fine. For anti-infantry, he's got a huge flame presence, along with the indirect from the Desolation Marines, so that's perfect. Anti-vehicle monsters, he's got those Lancers, he's got the Desolation Marines, he's got the Devastators. It seems very, very solid. The mobility, he's the Librarian Dreadnought, giving the redeploy to make up for the lack of jump packs. The Ball Predators can advance and shoot now versus infantry, or if, I guess, anything can advance and shoot now if you're in Devastator Doctor, and he is indeed running Gladiatus Detachment, which means he has Doctrines. There's quite a few tricks in this list, such as the Feel No Pain aura around the Librarian Dreadnought, the sticky objectives, the varying threat posed by the armour, the teleporting of infantry, the assassin, the ability to buff all the shooting with the Thunderstrike. Like, it's well thought out, and it's got a lot going for it. So, like, overall, it's very much a shooting list. But it's super hard to win games right now with melee, and we know that for Blood Angels. They have a 41% win rate. It's so low. So I want to say, like, more power to TJ for winning so many games and winning tournaments, and also for coming up with a unique and fun list, because I think that's just so much more fun than... As much as I miss my Sangreguard, I still prefer looking at lists like this than just going, alright, every game I should just run 3x7 Sangreguard, because that's meta and that's too good, right? Don't get me wrong, I'm desperate to have Sangreguard back. I just think that Games Workshop don't know how to balance Sangreguard, so we're going to be in for... It seems now we've been going back and forth with them for like 4 years, where they just need to start again and think about Sangreguard and get them to a point where, like, they're really good, but they're not really good in that you want to bring 21 every game or 3 squads of them every game. And Games Workshop can't figure that out. So if you want to try a list like this, now would be the time to try it, because the scouts are apparently going legends, but there's certainly some alternatives you could use. You know, use a Phobos unit in there, and Phobos librarians attached to Phobos squads make them untargetable as well, similar to that lone operative rule. So I think even if this, you know, even if the scouts go away, and I think that's the only unit that's potentially going away right now, I think that you could probably make this work with a couple of small tweaks. Maybe you need to take like the Phobos Librarian, maybe you need to take like an Exaction Squad or Voidsman at Arms, but this could totally work. So, well done to TJ for winning a couple of events and submitting something completely different. And also thanks so much, TJ, for spending some time and giving us like a breakdown of the list, because sometimes I have to guess what things are good in the list, but in this one I really think he's broken down exactly what we needed to know. So I hope you can take some inspiration for this video. The new Balanced Data Slate is rumoured to just be a couple of weeks away, and as soon as that has come out, we will be breaking that down. Last week I did this great video on strategic reserves and how you can use strategic reserves to score a lot of points and win games. TJ touched on this a little bit in his list, so if you haven't checked out last week's video, please do so now. If not, then thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. Leave a like, consider subscribing. I am here every week on YouTube telling you how to win games and discussing the best Blood Angel stuff that's currently available. I hope I'll catch you in the next video, and remember, if you want to support the channel, you can do so via the big join button under this video or via Patreon is much appreciated. I will catch you sometime this week. We're back to some live games. I'm back from holiday, so we'll have live games, the Army List show, all sorts of more content coming up on the channel. Until we see each other next time, by the blood are we made strong, brothers. Peace.